Welcome to this Python lesson on the basic elements and syntax. We encourage you to follow along, write the code, and experiment with your own examples. The first thing we'll discuss is the rules of naming. Names can be as long as you like, but there are a few rules. You should start with a letter or an underscore. You can't use reserved words like if, where, etc. I'll put a link to all of these reserved words in the description. They are case sensitive, so capital num is different to lowercase num. They should have meaningful names, and names with two words are usually separated with an underscore and are lowercase. In this example, I'll create a first name, John, and a last name, Smith, then write both of those to the console. And we can see we get John Smith on two separate lines. You can see I have used triple quotation marks to write a comment over multiple lines. There are a few basic data types that you should know. They are numbers, strings, sequences, dictionaries, sets, files, and booleans. We'll look at all of those in more detail now. The most common numeric data types are int, float, and decimal, but there's also complex if you're more mathematically inclined. We can define and print to the console each of them like this. Decimal is defined a little differently to the other types. We also need to import decimal at the top of our file. You can also see the type of any object using the type method, just like this. And you can see we get int, float, decimal, and complex. A string is a sequence of characters used to store text or binary data, so I'll discuss them with sequences. To define a string, you put quotes around whatever text you would like to store. A list can be created with square brackets, and inside those brackets, the data you want to store. You can store multiple data types within the same list, strings, integers, anything all you want together, although I would recommend only storing one type in one list. In a list, you can add or remove elements, sort, filter, cut, and organize in many different ways. Like a list, tuples can include different kinds of data, but they cannot be changed. They are immutable. They are defined with normal brackets. A dictionary is defined with curly brackets, and inside those brackets is a collection of key value pairs. So the keys I've got are brand, model, year, and colour, and the values associated with those keys are Ford, ST, 2023, and red. The keys are unique and are used to access a value like this. Dictionaries are not ordered, but it's a very fast way to access data. A set stores multiple items and they can be used to find unions, intersections, differences, and more. One of their uses is to remove any repeated data from a list, like this. There is a file data type that can be used to interact with the file system. Before doing this, you'll need to open it with open followed by the file name. There is also a Boolean type which would be either true or false. Something like is writing code could be an example. Each data type has methods or useful actions that can be used. To call or use one of these, you create a data type and then use the dot notation to access it. In this example, I have a string that is all in lowercase. There is a method called upper which will convert it to uppercase, just like this. The empty brackets signify that it is a method, but there is nothing extra needed to use it. If there is something extra needed, that extra information can be passed into the brackets. I will give the append example for the list data type. We have a shopping list with a death laser, apples, and uranium-235, and we call the append method and pass in the particle accelerator. And if we print this to the console, we can see we have the death laser, apples, uranium-235, and the particle accelerator all in the same list. Thanks for joining us today. You should now have an understanding of the most common data types in Python. Stay tuned for more lessons. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates. Happy coding!